Hello, everybody. Thanks for supporting Indie Agency News. I'm Doug Zanger, Uncle Advertising. You can see, like, I got the the sweater, the look, Uncle sweater, Uncle hair. It's a little on the silver side. I'm catching up to Michael McDonald, one of my heroes, with the lid. All right, but we're not here to talk about my being of a certain age. We're here to talk about something really, really important, which goes beyond a lot of the data that we talk about. And there are all these things we talk about around demographics, and we talk about Gen X. I'm Gen X, and it's like, ooh, cool. And then we're all painted with this super broad brush. And then it's, oh, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, blah, 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 blah. Guess what? Everybody's fishing from the same river. However, one of our members has been doing this for a minute and has some real deep insight into subcultures and why they are so incredibly important. I'm starting to talk like Jeff Goldblum here for a second. We're and Adam. Yeah, right. So,
Awesome,
how's Detroit, my man?
things are good. Yeah, I think we're in the false fall because we have
That's what we are too, right?
Yeah. Because
Well,
then summer will happen again,
right?
for maybe a couple weeks.
Yeah, in Oregon we call it a little extra summer. So, and we're going to link back to the Meet and Indie agency that we did with you and your co-founder, Tony Hawk, so that people have some more context into this. But one of the conversations that we have had often, and I'm really glad that we're talking about this because we can go a little bit more in depth on this. And I think it's really important for marketers to really understand this as well. And brief aside, before we really get started, you came from the marketing side. You came from the brand side. So I want to talk a little, before we really dig into this, I want you to talk a little bit about your brand side experience and how it has informed the way that you and the agency approach a lot of things, specifically how you approach subcultures.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I went to
Right.
a brand job and then came back.
That's right. You boomeranged. Right.
Yeah. Oh, there goes the thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there was a spell where I ran brand marketing at Carhartt, and it was quite formative in a lot of ways. You know, I could write a whole list of things I learned from that. Probably the biggest one being massive levels of empathy for those who run brands and who
Right.
have to lead brands, trying to balance, how much support you get from, internally building out internal teams, in-house teams, how much you use agencies, all of that stuff. One thing that I learned there was the pendulum has swung so hard toward, everything being very data driven. And I will preface all of this with not against it. It's
Right.
just the pendulum has swung so hard.
Mm-hmm.
To the if you think about it, like it's like if you don't have to think about it. If you do the research, maybe ask chat. I don't know, whatever you want.
Right.
Ask, how much have Fortune 1000 companies or brands spent on data over the past 10 years? And I'll tell you, it's somewhere around 60 billion, and that's
Jeez.
just third party data. So that's just, look, I'm a creative's creative, but this is all in service of the creative. And so I've spent the past several years, and this started at Carhartt, really digging into like, so why? And then, billions more on first party data, the data that you can get from your own sort of marketing ecosystem. And the problem, in my opinion, is we're just over reliant on quantitative driven
Right.
insights, and the problem gets deeper the more you start to dig into it. They end up being averages, right? So
Yeah.
massive data sets. I mean, it's essentially the digital exhaust of millions of people
I like that
squished
term.
through an
Yeah.
algorithm, and out the other end comes, well, here's what we know about them.
Right.
And what we've found, what I've found either, running my own agency, working with clients, is that it's not that the insights that are mostly quantitatively driven aren't true. It's just they're not true enough.
No, I
And
get that. Yeah.
and over the past couple years, we've you know we have wonderful case studies that show, you if you get beyond that and really understand people instead of bucketing them as consumers. I love that,
Mhm.
Mike Cesario over at Liquid Death, since we don't call them consumers. And it's like, you're onto something, dude. They're
Right.
people.
Right. They're people.
And yeah. Um,
Last time I checked. Right.
yeah. So I'll throw another stat at you. This was like Lions Creativity Report or whatever. It was 51% of brand leaders say that their insights are too weak to really do any kind of breakthrough creative. And then you start looking around and you go, okay, why are CMO tenures,
Right.
hovering around 3.5 years? And I really do, like, this is my hypothesis, because of the billions that have spent on data. CEOs and CFOs, even CTOs, look at the CMO and go, what's your problem? You've got
Right.
all
Right.
you've got all the data in the world. You could,
Right.
they think they have a crystal ball. And I think the smartest brand leaders realize that there is a sort of, it's a fallacy. There's this, like, uh, yeah, illusion of certainty.
Well, and that's the thing. So you mentioned that all of this is getting compressed through algorithmic data. Everything's ending up in the same place. That means that you end up in a sea of sameness. Meanwhile, you have creators who inherently understand the nuances and intersectionality of their audiences. And
That's a
in
big word. That's a big word,
I'm
Michael.
trying to come up with as many big words as I can. Okay. Jesus. I mean, here's another one. They know it in more ways than a demographic study can capture. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the disconnect and what CMOs and marketers should be demanding from their agencies that most are too afraid to ask for.
I think I think they can ask for understanding their consumers as people. And I think most agencies, especially, the circles we all run in here,
Sure.
um, especially the indie agencies, I think they understand that. I think they want to do more qualitative work. And I'm here. Yes, I want people to know that we have this very differentiated approach, which we can get into in a little while.
Yeah,
But
we'll talk about that
it
for
would
sure.
it would warm my heart if the entire industry, um, did what we did. Maybe not exactly how we do it, but did what we did. I think the work would get better. I think CMOs, the heat would come off them a little bit,
Mhm.
because there is this illusion of certainty. There isn't certainty.
No.
What clients really want is to play with confidence, and the way to play with confidence is to have a differentiated insight and brief. Because everyone's fishing from the same river of data, their briefs are very similar to the competitors.
Right.
The insights contained therein are similar to their competitors, and then everyone wonders why it's so hard to make differentiated work. It
Right.
starts. I mean, we all know it starts with the brief, and you know, it's
Right.
it's ironic when you show. We've all heard this, right? When a client looks at work, or even internally, when you look at the work, this is after briefing.
Right. Right.
How is this creative idea ownable? Could your competitor do or say the same thing?
Right.
We're
Right.
kind of we're kind of putting that question back on the brand leader community and going, well, how is your understanding of your audience ownable
That
and differentiated?
that's true.
How
That's
are
true.
your insights and your resulting brief different than your competitors?
I, yeah. My favorite story about briefs in general, the late great Jim Riswold. And I'm just saying I got this like ninth hand, but apparently the brief was there and he would rip it into like just one little piece, and he'd say, "That's all we need."
Well, I mean, I can tell you the time, like for our, our newest client, Scott's, the lawn care company.
Yeah, and that's really fun work, by the way.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we're just getting started. It's year one of a brand, of a completely new brand.
right,
This is a this is a brand. This is a company that dominates the category, and their segmentation is great. I mean, it's chef's kiss kind of stuff.
right.
Um, but and I'm not going to divulge too much of it, but there's a certain blind spot with the audience we were needing to establish this brand for, and our approach, we call it the decal sub method.
Right.
Um, we ended up talking to six people, six people, and this was just before briefing. So it's not like we're taking all of their sort of mostly quantitative driven insights and data and throwing it away.
Right.
We're just going in and actually going literally touching grass. Um, we,
Right.
hey,
Legitimately.
we're
Yes.
done. We're done here because
Right.
that was a good
Yeah.
pun.
You got to leave on a
Um,
high note. Yeah.
um, we learned more about this growth segment than they knew before, by virtue of literally spending really good time with six people. I'll give you an example. All of them didn't refer to their outdoor space as their lawn. They referred to it as their yard. And the more we dug
Oh,
into that, the more we realized this is a very different group of people with very different motivations and expectations around lawn care. Um, but here's the thing: we didn't start talking to them about lawn care. As a matter of fact, that's kind of how our approach works. We go into the segment that they gave us, and we go find the most active subcultures, which is just a bougie way of saying the things people are really interested in. They spend
exactly.
discretionary time and money on.
Right.
Um, and then we double click again, and we go find the most vocal among them. So now we're in Reddits and
Right.
subreddits and all of that. And it turns out, some of it was unsurprising, some of it was a little surprising. You know, DIY, DIY home ownership. Okay, that felt pretty wide for us. And then clean eating popped, and yoga, and suburban parenting, and all of those things. You go find the most passionate, the most vocal. Someone that might have a subreddit with 4 or 5 thousand people,
Right.
right? And you go tap them on the shoulder and you ask them, if can we talk to you about yoga or whatever their subreddit thing is. And mind you, they match all the demographics, all of the audience segmentation. So we know they're part of that audience. And then we go talk to them. It's insane, right? How if you sat down at a dinner table and you started asking people about the things they're truly interested in, the conversation is going to go somewhere.
Right.
If you start talking to them about their household income and
Right.
education and all that,
I know
like,
we've just met. However, I'd like to know your household
right, right.
income.
Yeah, yeah. But so yeah, and there's some video journaling that happens, and sometimes we'll
That's
do
cool.
site visits. But it is unapologetically narrow and qualitative. As a matter of fact, we've had we've had at least one uh, search consultant go, all right, well, if I'm a big mass marketer,
Mm-hmm.
isn't this going too narrow? And it's like, that's the point.
That is the
It's
point.
it's the absolute point, because everyone's going so wide. Back to averages. Everyone's using the
Everyone's
same damn
regressing to the
averages.
mean. You can't regress to the mean.
It,
Yeah.
it, ooh, I got to write that down. Can't
I mean,
regress to
listen,
the mean.
data is everything and everything is data. And when I say everything, I'm a big fan too of qualitative. I mean, that's like stuff we're building. That's all qualitative. and
Yeah.
it's important because it's meant to serve it's meant to serve our members. Like that's
Yeah.
the lens we look through. The lens you're looking through is serving the brand, but also serving those subcultures. And what I love, and this goes into a little bit about how you approach how the agency is structured. It's like 30-40% of agency outsiders on the team, right? So walk us through that a little bit and why that's important, and how all of this makes everything just more interesting. And specifically for a marketer, it in a lot of ways becomes an aha moment for them. Like, oh my God, this is like a completely, this is another treasure map that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah. Right. So, okay. So we have an advisory board. We call them the cultural advisory board, the CAB, if you will.
Yes.
Um, it's made up of 7 people who have never worked a day at an agency. So Tony's one of these folks. There's people on the board like Paul Blair, uh, won a Grammy for co-writing and producing A Star Is Born with the Lady of the Gaga.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Jessica Murnane, she's a women's advocate, author, podcaster. Um, Rick Williams opened a sneaker, hottest sneaker store here this side of the Mississippi a while back. Designs shoes, knows everything there is to know about street culture. The point is these are people that are like way cooler than the rest of us, but don't have the bad habits of working at agencies that some of us pick up along the way. And honestly, they serve several different roles. Sometimes they come in as creatives. Paul Blair's thrown concepts in the hat for things.
Sure.
We sometimes tap into their hard skills. He's composed music for some of our campaigns and
Nice.
client work. Yeah, but really overall, they represent kind of the tippy top of this really healthy, robust network. They keep us really close to creator culture, and they really understand the attention economy. Many of them are kind of hustling out there as creatives or as creators as well. But really, it gives us some credibility to throw the word subculture around a lot, and I think a lot of people do, and we check ourselves on it. But they really do bring a level of credibility to the table, and they're really great bullshit detectors. I mean, we'll show them work, we'll show them briefs. You know, they may not understand all the acronyms. I mean, we have more acronyms in
Oh
this
my God,
business than the
so many
military.
acronyms.
Yeah, and it's okay. They don't need to.
Ugh.
But it's really great. I think we might be the only agency that has this advisory board. They all have a sliver of equity in the
Yeah,
agency, so they do their own thing. I mean, Tony's starring in other people's work. You know, I
right.
mean,
No, yeah, Tony Hawk is in a lot of things.
he does his own thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's talk about agencies and indies in particular that maybe, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of spinning around. How would you advise an indie in particular? And maybe they've been doing this for the same way for a long time, but now they're watching this and saying, "Oh, okay, this is probably going to be better in the short and long term for our relationship with our client." I'm curious to know how they can build a playbook to understand, or even just start dipping their toes into understanding what authentic subcultures are like. And also concurrently using that as a premium strategy that big brands should pay for. I mean, they should pay more for that, because
Yeah.
it seems like with your the Scott's example, and again, it's really great work. You're squeezing so much out of that in a way. It's just like they didn't even know this existed. And so I'm curious for an agency that might just be stuck or frozen or scared or a combination of all of it. How do you even get started in thinking about this?
Well, I mean, I think it's really helping brand leaders get off the treadmill, right?
Yeah.
Because they're all like just on the treadmill, and there's all this pressure to deliver, especially from a performance marketing perspective. But we could do a whole nother episode on my belief that the middle of the funnel should just be removed completely. Just focus on the top and focus on the bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's just, if you have the relationship with a client, or you should have the relationship with the client, where you can say, let's pump the brakes and let's really dig into truly knowing your audience as people and all the nuances and the messiness of being human, and really understanding that the way people live and what their interests are is where you're going to find the best insights to build work around, and that transcends demographics. I've always wanted a WRX, a Subaru.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not like a tuner guy, but I finally got one. I'm a
Nice.
52-year-old man, but I'm on, Reddits and whatever else in these forums and groups, talking to, there's like 17-year-olds all the way up to 60-year-olds,
Right.
from various backgrounds and education. Like, our interest transcends those demographics, and people are get really talkative and will volunteer a lot of information. I mean, when we did this research just before briefing, by the way, for the Scott's work, we learned everything there is to know about like what's in their pantry and what's in their driveway. I mean, it
Right.
really painted a high fidelity picture of who these people are and their motivations. But I mean, going back to your point or your question, I just think you need that relationship, and you need to be able to push back on the brief and what they believe the insight really is. And if you think about it, it's not much to ask. If you think about the go-to-market cycle for most products and services, some of them are shorter, some of them are longer. I've got the apparel one stuck in my head. It's 18 to
Sure.
20 months or whatever. But like from the very genesis of, we're going to create this product, we're going to bring it to market, agencies come in, they're like a blip in the grand scheme of things. Right. And a lot of that insight gathering has been happening during product development and all of that
Right.
stuff. And you get close, and here's our insight, here's our audience, here's the product, and then the agency comes in. It's not much to ask, especially if you find a way to do it very quickly like we do. It's like 4 weeks, 6 weeks tops.
Right.
And you literally optimize your brief with just dripping with truthiness.
Truthiness. Yeah.
And it's not much to ask. Like in that span of however many weeks, let's do some math here. So let's call it 20 months. That's 80 weeks of a go-to-market cycle.
Right.
We're asking for 4 just to make sure the brief is like, mwah.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows that brand leader to play with confidence. And they don't have to tell the CEO and all the people who are like, that think they've given them a crystal ball,
Right.
with investing in massive data sets and data warehousing and all of that stuff. They don't have to know that, the real insight was found by actually talking to some fucking people.
Right. The way
It'll be our little secret.
You said something that's really important, though, and we'll end on this. The importance of confidence. And we talk about that a lot here. That's one of our biggest things. Our biggest internal KPI here at Indie Agency News is, are we making our members more confident in what they do, how they approach things, how they communicate, how they raise their visibility? Like, confidence is our thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm curious about the marketers too, because you're right. They are so beaten down. They're tired. They're exhausted. They're a lot of them are very, very gifted, and you want to root for them so much.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about the importance of instilling confidence in your client, especially the CMO or the senior marketer, and why that's so important, especially now.
It is. I mean, that's they are why we exist. And if,
True.
I mean, the whole category or vertical of marketing in general is under threat, and it's being deplatformed here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from AI to the staggering complexity of the marketing ecosystem that a brand leader or a marketing leader has to sort of command.
Right.
It's insane. And, I felt it when I sat in that chair. So we just need to find more ways to allow them to play with confidence. Most of them, most of them want to. Most of them understand the power of creative, and most of them understand that the most powerful creative comes from a very succinct, cogent, very real insight. And they're just not getting that through the through by the mean or the averages from the averages. So you know that's what we have to do, or else we're not going to have anyone to hire us.
Right. Well, no, there's that, right.
Yeah.
There's that
Yeah.
part.
I
But
mean,
it is incredibly rewarding when a CMO or a senior marketer, when you see them after something is working, and just that smile, and it's a smile, but also like a little bit of relief.
yeah.
And that's what great agencies and great agency thinking can bring.
Well, I can tell you, our Scots clients walk those halls with their heads held high because we collaborated. We have a really healthy collaborative relationship. They trust in us, and they took a little bit of a leap of faith in the way we approach things. But I'm telling you, that confidence comes from being able to do things they couldn't do before. It may sound crazy and wild to most people, but it was kind of unheard of to show little kids jumping up and down on oversaturated turf in their world. It was unheard of. Why would you ever show a trampoline and then move that trampoline and show the big yellow spot
Right.
that forms under it? Why would you show, if you're a grass seed company, why would you show those things? This is a brand, the master brand Green Oval has been in the business of telling people, okay, now it's time to fertilize, and if you don't, it's going to look like this, and it's and all of that. Here we come along with evidence from our sub-method approach that we injected into the brief that says, actually, these people are okay with that. As a matter of fact, the little bald spot of dirt underneath the tree swing, they're not in a hurry to replant that.
Right.
The guy next door might be. He's the one that's going to have. He's the one that's going to have a heart attack if his kid's asked to break out the slip and slide because he knows it'll yellow the grass.
Right.
But these people look at that bald spot as evidence they are parenting the right way.
Right.
Their kids are outside playing.
Yeah.
And so here's a brand celebrating that and being okay with the fact that they're not going to run out and buy the grass seed right this second, but at some point they will.
We did that. Yeah. About a third of our yard was trampled by lacrosse, a ball back and forth off of a net, and sometimes into a window. Adam, could talk to you forever. Really appreciate you taking the time today. As always, appreciate you supporting this mission. Love hearing this stuff. This is just great. And keep on keeping on, my man.
You too, Doug. It's good seeing you, man. And thank you for everything you're doing. I've said it before, the energy needs to be bottled.
I appreciate that, man.
Bottled. It's good.
All right, man. Let me hit end.